here's a pro tip. So you've got one of these or any Eugene or spirit, and you don't know quite what to do with it just yet. So you've gone off and bought the bottle, great. So when we're judging spirits, what we do, we don't usually get a whole glass like this. I thought I'd make myself useful in the meantime. So when you're judging, you get about 30 mils, you get a flight through about 5 or 6 spirits at a time, and you've got about 20 minutes to work through it. You have to work pretty quick. Anyway, so you'll smell it, you'll taste it neat, and you're taking notes the whole time and scoring. And then in the small tasting glass, again, you're probably getting maybe 30 mils, maybe a bit less, depends on the organisers. We then add a little pipette of water and add it to the gin, or the vodka as the case may be, and then taste it again for a second round of assessment. And what that does, that little bit of water, just like 5 mils or so, opens up the flavour profile completely, because clearly, you don't drink spirits neat most of the time. I mean, that way leads to ruin. So whether it's on ice or with tonic or in a cocktail, again, when they're designing a spirit, you usually got in mind of how they're going to be drunk. So anyway, so we judge it neat just for purity purposes and to see what they're on about and make sure there's no flaws. And then add the water, like 5 mils, and then that. So when you're doing that, got in a brand new bottle or something, that's how you do it. And then you go, okay, I can see where that's going, and then you can decide how you want to enjoy it. I mean, there's no rules, but I've been trying to guide you today about certain different directions. So we're going to wait for Collie, who's one of the distillers at Underground Spirits, and she's got a gorgeous French accent, so in for a treat. We've also got to be talking about this new product, hand sanitizer. There she is. Let me just log her in. Here she comes. We should be pros by this between Zoom and chats and Instagram. It's been a fun time, actually. I like this creativity of this period.
Hello.
Bonjour, Collie.
How are you feeling?
I'm well. Welcome. Thanks again for the opportunity to do this and talk about your lovely spirits.
Thank you. Thank you for doing it.
That's the least I can do. Santé. Cheers. Now, I've got a bunch of questions for you, and we've had a few questions from our audience as well, which is great. And anybody just tuning in, now's a really nice time, and this is Collie, who makes this fine spirits. We're going to talk about the range. So this is, if you just tuned in, this is part of 4 of a quick little series of videos we've been doing today on Instagram. So if you've missed them, they'll be up on my YouTube channel in the next couple of days, and you can. First one was all about the vodkas, then we talked about the gins, and then your special release at the Australian National Botanic Gardens. And now we're going to delve into how you go about making them, and you can take questions from people. So I have to start at the beginning about the production process. So how you do the maceration. Could you step us through how you do the maceration, then the vapor distilling, and that kind of process in general?
With the botanicals, we do sort of, I guess most distillers will be using the same kind of process where we take all our botanicals, and it's like a giant tea bag. So you put in the still, we'll leave it overnight so it gets infused, and all the botanicals gets infused all through it. In the morning, we start the stills, and the process starts, the vapor goes through another botanical basket as well to add a little more. And then
so that the spirit rises and passes through the baskets, yes?
Yes, yeah. There is two parts. Our core botanicals are being put in this giant tea bag. There's no other way to put it. Tea bag.
Yeah.
A giant tea bag. So that then the spirit rises, goes through all the copper plates, and then the vapor goes through another botanical basket, and then it comes down.
Voila.
Voila.
and then you cut it down. So the copper plates, that's part of the purification process, isn't it? Before you do the filtration?
Yes. So the copper plates allow us to purify it. It's my French. Excuse my French. Purify it's going through, and then going through the botanical basket.
So one of the things that's, sorry to interrupt, one of the things that's become clear tasting your range this morning and talking to people is that the purity of the spirit really is like a house style, it seems to me. Like it's very, very clean. And is that to do with your process at the end, the filtration process?
Right, cryofiltration, as we call it. So Toby is the head distiller, and the founder of the distillery is an obstetrician from his work. So he learned a lot through his experience in the medical field. He got inspired by a process that is normally used for blood transfusions and other medical processes. And so I can say tell everything about the process, but he got inspired by this process. So to then inspire a very specific filtration process, which is patented and kind of our little secret.
Yeah, of course, of course.
It's for that process, and this process allows to get rid of most of the tiny particles. So when you drink, like any vodka or gin, sometimes you'll just be so harsh for the throat, or it'll just be it burns. It's just like I'm so strong. And what makes this effect is all those tiny microscopic particles. And through our process, we get rid of that. That's why it's so smooth. That's why you were saying earlier with the caramel vodka, you can just sip it, or the Shiraz gin, just sip it on its own on ice, and it's just beautiful. It doesn't hit the throat so bad. Or
No, it's dangerously good. It's dangerously good.
a lot.
So what about what is about Canberra from a brand point of view, Underground Spirits? I mean, you've got a very contemporary approach to the packaging and your spirit expressions and so forth. Is there something about Canberra, the Canberra region, that inspires you or the people or the team?
The purity. Toby's goal when he started the distillery was, so he was in Scotland actually, and some life event made him want to start the distillery. Long story short, he started it, and he wanted to make the purest vodka ever. So what was the place in Canberra? We have the water from the mountains. It's the air is so pure. Well, aside from the pasture,
Usually.
we're like, yeah. So we have such a beautiful environment, lots of native botanicals as well, and a lot of enthusiasm from everyone, I think, for native botanicals and wildlife in general. Yeah, so the water we use is the water from the mountains, which we then, we use a reverse osmosis filter to filter it before we use it as well in a distillation process. So we make sure it's the best, purest.
And it's not a big team, is it? Like I was saying before, so many distillers in Australia are small team, family-run businesses, and I guess that's a similar story for you guys.
Exactly. I'm like the French that joined the family, but started his Toby and his two sisters. Yeah, his son helps as well, with a nephew at the moment as well, Patrick. So the dad as well helps. He does the dehydrated orange wheels.
Yes.
Which we usually serve with our gin, and yeah, so it's funny. It's always someone else in the family that comes and helps, and yeah, and they all have like different skills. That's what's so wonderful about it.
Yeah, I bet, and because everything's hand bottled and hand packaged, and it's great. I think just dropped out for a minute. Oh, you're back now. We had a question. Are there plans for doing like a Navy strength gin or something like that? Can you share anything about any future releases of us? Is she back? Colleen?
About the Navy strength, I think the question.
Yeah, about the Navy strength. Yep. Is there something in the pipeline maybe?
It's interesting because we're working on one. It's all been delayed with all the COVID stuff and everything that's happening. We sort of kind of paused all our distilling, usual gin and vodka distilling, to start making sanitizer. But it's actually planned, it's in the process. We also make maybe that is a bit stronger, which we currently have, like a London Dry style gin, which is 42.5, which we currently sell in UK. We're thinking of shipping some of it back to Australia as well. Yeah.
And that just gives it a bit more spice, a bit more heat, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
It's a bit more spicy and strong.
Speaking of new releases, quite so. Now you sent this along to me. Everyone can see this. This is a hand sanitizer mini spray. This is a big bottle, so I feel. Thank you. This is a very interesting story in general, because I noticed about 3-4 weeks ago, when all this horrible COVID-19 was started to happen, distillers around the world were just individually responding to the need for sanitizer. And I was just on my Instagram, just tagging, just finding them all, and then I've put there's a couple of doctors who got in touch with me, and I was starting to build a bit of a list up, and they were looking for materials as well. One was out of Victoria, one was out of Queensland, and together we put together this list, which now lives on my site. So I've got almost 100 distillers now who have responded to this, but in terms of basically stopping gin vodka production and just turning that around. And you've got an amazing story how you've taken. Tell us about the source of that and how it all came about for you to create this, because that's a great yarn.
Yeah, so it all started as, like I was explaining before, Toby is actually a surgeon, doctor, obstetrician. Um, so he was already working in the medical field, so very quickly he realized there was a shortage, national shortage of hand sanitizer for all health professionals. So we quickly acted on it and been working around the clock to make it for ACT Emergency Services Agency, CTESA, Australia services as well around the country. So Centrelink remain open and everyone can get the job keep and job seeker allowance. So been working with the defense as well. So making our best to producing around 5,000 liters of hand sanitizer per week at the moment.
Wow.
To supply to and priority the health professionals, and now we're also able to supply to everyone. So we have made this website. If you go on our website, Underground Spirit, you'll get a link to Spirit of Canberra, which is our retail website for sanitizer, as well as a cleaning spray, 70% alcohol. And we're also working on other solutions, which are like bag in a box. How to explain?
But you were doing 24 hours a day, weren't you, at one point? You guys were working...
Yeah, we were going to do that. In the end, there was not the need. So we have been able to source enough ethanol, which is the main source. But we're still distilling grapes every day. So we've been given lots of grapes, hundreds of liters of wines. I mean,
and that was a result of the bushfires too, well, because the smoke came through the wine region, and so all the vintage was ruined.
The gin you were talking about earlier, that Krishanda, it's interesting because we had 200 liters of that was smoke tainted, smoke affected. So we redistilled that to make hand sanitizer. Used wines that was smoke affected as well. Yeah, it's
kind of cheap. That's amazing. That's amazing. Let's go back to the ad crescendium a bit, and let's talk about how you arrived at this combination, because the native botanicals. So how long did it take you to land at this combination? Because they're all very different botanicals. I'm guessing even as an Australian, I find this exotic and find these botanicals exotic, let alone the combination. So how did you arrive at that?
So we started by extracting all the aromas through making tinctures, which also ensures that we can always make the gin for quite a long time. As they are a bit hard to get, some of them, or they may be just very seasonal. So the project, it was like a year of development with Botanic Gardens from the first start of the idea, and then when we first started getting, so they were great at giving us, they were matching like every botanical with some flavor profile and uses and toxicity, of course. It's going to be safe.
Well, that's the thing. There are certain native botanicals, and I'm thinking of perhaps condong. No. It's a nut, but it has to be washed very carefully before you can use it.
Yeah. So all of the specificities and to ensure that it was all safe to be consumed.
And you worked with the horticulturalists at the gardens. So you kind of worked together
as well. Yes. So it's funny because he's very much of a. He's passionate about cocktails and he's a foodie as well on the side. So his input because he's so passionate about gin as well.
Yeah.
So
I'm guessing you basically started with a neutral spirit and then get my little spread out and then added little bits of each.
Yeah. It was just all trial and error. It's a little bit of that.
So how many months do you reckon before you landed it?
It's been a few months, like from the time where we made the tinctures and to actually land like the right product where it was the right spirit, where everything was balanced. Like it's a little bit too sweet, so it was too much Banksia, or like every flavor profile. Yeah, it's all about finding the exact. It's almost like baking, it's got to be exact, very precise.
Well, that's kind of touched on what I think I mentioned one of the earlier things with the other distilling, because you've got to, even though it's a small batch and there can be variations at times, you really have to be exact as best you can each time, can't you?
Especially with tinctures, as they're so potent, so strong, that one drop will just change the whole profile.
And I guess there's the reaction between a couple sometimes that don't work.
Yeah, you will think, I will put together. Or sometimes you will think they wouldn't work, but actually, surprisingly, it works out very well. I find this with making cocktails, like you would, I guess. Creating cocktails, taking two completely different flavor profiles, putting them together, and Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Let's open up everyone who's joined in, and thank you so much for and those who've just joined us. If you've missed the other 3 segments with Underground Spirits today, they'll be on my YouTube channel in the next day or so, and you'll be able to watch what we've done today and talk about it. But if you've got a question for Collie, now's a really good time to jump in and say hi and ask anything about distilling, gin, vodka, what we talked about today. Who's got a question? Anybody? Well, there we go. I'll have a drink in the meantime. Cheers. So again, while we're waiting for a question, people can obviously get your range from your website if they want to. Yes?
Yes.
Now we've got them all thirsty. And today, because it's Mother's Day, when we're doing the recording, there's Handmade Market in Canberra, so handmadecanberra.com. They can go there too, can't they? I think. Yep.
Yeah. It's through the market. There's like plenty of other shops to shop from.
Yes.
About 100 markets. We can
get all something for your mum. And have I got it right? You're doing free shipping over $100 around Australia. Is that right?
Yes, all over Australia.
Yeah. Great. So we've got any questions at all? So Katie, I hope your question got answered. Who else we got here? Still going? Still a fan of everything. All right. Tell me about then the actual still stuff. Like, can people visit you? Like, is there a shop front if they want to visit you in person? Yeah. So
where's that? It's been hectic. The whole sanitizer literally changed the whole operations to start making sanitizer, and yes, it was really challenging. Mm-hmm. We're usually open at the moment. We try and stay close to the public because of the social distancing. Try and keep it the safest possible. But we're working with a visitor center as well, so you can order on the phone and then pick up, not for the gin, but for the hand sanitizer. So that's for the hand sanitizer.
Oh, great. Yeah.
We're working on setting that up with them. It should be running normally on Tuesday.
Yep.
Tuesday, you'll be able to just ring the visitor center, place your order of hand sanitizer, and then you drive through there.
That's a great solution. That's fantastic. Yeah. Pretty good. Well, look, I think, thank you so much. Oh, well, Handmade Canberra. So we do want to give a shout out to Handmade Canberra, just joined us. So thanks, and happy day goes well, guys. Great success. And thanks for sharing the word about all we've done today. Collie and the guys at Underground, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about your range. It's been really fun. I like to encourage responsible drinking at all times. So even before midday, I'm a bad influence. But thank you. And seriously, congratulations on this achievement. This is really... really something. It's like I was saying before, it's very hard to work with native botanicals, and you've done an amazing job there. So, bravo, indeed. So,
merci.
Good. Oh, someone said, "How deep underground are you?" Oh,
above ground. Sorry.
Actually, that's a good point. How did Toad get its name, Underground? Because you're in the back. You're at the back of Canberra shops. If anybody knows Canberra suburbs, you're in a very unlikely. Yeah. It's true.
That is great. We're actually at Waterfront Distillery now. We have a nice pond in front of us. That was seriously, so the underground came from when it all started and the filtration process. So because we use cryofiltration, which is we freeze our spirits below zero. So there was the idea of being below zero, and yeah, it was the whole idea started with a small team, small family business. How to put it?
No, that makes sense. Another question from Kay just came through. With the release of your sanitizer range to expand your brand, is there any plans to relocate or your shopfront or enhance your shopfront? So you're going to be
for a long time. So always the trouble that it takes time, and moving those days, especially during COVID, this year. But yes, there is to go to a bigger place where we could actually have a proper tasting room as well, and do a few more events. And so at the moment, after COVID, we're open to the public every Friday.
Yep.
And
great. Now here's another question. How did you come to the flavour? We touched on this a bit, the flavour combination from the... sorry, I missed your question before, Katie, but I anticipated it. So, yes. So, how many prototypes did you reckon you went through? Can you share? Like, we're talking dozens and dozens?
Around 35 botanicals that were given to us from the Botanic Garden, so we worked with. Yeah. So, how we worked with flavor combination was, so we had the flavor profiles list that was made by the Botanic Gardens, which really helped. And then it was all about trial and error. It's a bit like making a giant cocktails. Like you get something a bit earthy, bitter, something a little bit sweeter, like the burnt, something a bit citrusy, like the finger lime, and you play around with those bits of spices. Cinnamon, grey myrtle is actually cinnamon myrtle. When you rub the leaf, it really smells and tastes like cinnamon. Rainforest aniseed was another of the spices that we used. So yeah, the thought process really makes a giant cocktail.
Lots of fun. Now we've got a question from Triple H Distill, who I know they make stills. The question is, do you make your own ethanol, which is beta-based spirit?
So our ethanol is made from New South Wales sustainably grown wheat. So we don't actually make it ourselves. We wish, hopefully soon once we get a big distillery. But we've been also distilling as well, like redistilling wine for the hand sanitizer, or we do sometimes some small pot distill as well to do our tinctures and all of that. So we do sometimes, but as a general rule, we don't. Like a lot of distillers around, yeah.
Well, there aren't that many who do, to be honest. You know, there's a handful of distillers around Australia because you need a fair bit of infrastructure, and it's quite a large bit of infrastructure to make it, don't you?
Big picture. So ideally, we will.
There's only a handful, so you're not alone there. Not alone there.
But gluten free for all of them gets that. Yeah, it is gluten free. So the distillation process strips from all gluten, and yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So, for the benefit of those who've just joined us, we're having a team with Collie, who's a distiller at Underground Spirits, and this is the fourth part out of four that we've done today, looking at their range from a bit of fun on Mother's Day, basically. And if you missed them, all the clips will be on my YouTube channel, and I'll send a link around in the next day or so. So we've talked about their vodka and their gin, their special release for the Botanic Garden. So, but if you've got a question, we'll hear a few more minutes. So here's a chance to ask a distiller anything you've ever wanted to know about making booze. But while you're doing that, how does a French girl get to be making gin in Canberra? Collie, can I ask you about?
I used to be a bar manager, and then I wanted to introduce more local products in our beverage list and gin list and wine list. So I started to get interested by what's around Canberra, like what kind of, and I discovered there's a wonderful world of wine and gin and spirits as well. So I started working with Underground Spirits, and then really liked working with them, really liked what they were doing, and decided to change.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's a great career transition, and the industry, and I touched on, I think, one of the early episodes, how there's so much innovation and creativity amongst the distilling industry, you know, and the sky's the limit, because it's people being self-taught, it's very collaborative, lots of creativity. It's not like, you know, an old world kind of way of doing business, is it? It's very exciting.
Yeah, it's constantly changing. We always have different projects. We made the gin with Floriad as well. That's
right.
Some events, which I love, making all events around Canberra, always creating bespoke cocktails for all those events.
That's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a golden age, I tell you. It makes my life very enjoyable, I assure you.
I do. Especially after drink.
Yes. Now, speaking of which, I should everybody go get some lunch or a drink or a cocktail or something. So for everybody who's tuned in today, thank you so much. This has been really fun. And again, they'll be on our YouTube channel next day or so. So if you missed one, you can always watch again. If you want to get Underground Spirits, go to their website, undergroundspirits.com.au. Carly, it's been absolutely lovely. Thanks again for the opportunity to share your range with everybody. Final question for the road. Katie's asked, have you thought about doing a collab with other distilleries similar to Four Pillars who done Changing the Season?
Big questions.
That's a good question, yeah.
It is. Let me think. I haven't had the opportunity yet, but not something we're close to. Haven't had the opportunity yet to do so. But we've been doing lots of collaborations with other, like for the cold brew coffee we had before, with something else that is not launched yet. We're working on something else that is a collaboration as well. Like with the friends. That's fine. With other people, and if there is some opportunity down the road, that would be great.
Yeah, there's some very there's some very interesting sort of the notion for first not where like some distilleries kind of work together, and sometimes they're almost like you don't see how they can fit together. If they're one from two different countries, for example, but sometimes they can be very successful. Like I was skeptical of a couple of them, and when I've tried them, they go, actually, this actually works really, really well, because every distillery has a different, to my mind, a slightly different philosophy, don't they? And we touched on that for you guys. So you need to find someone you feel kind of simpatico with, I'm guessing.
Yeah, completely. To be on the same page and the same, following the same idea, same philosophy. A lot of spirit behind the spirit.
Well, on the spirit of collaboration, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody and thank you again. It's been an absolute pleasure. So we'll look out for the clips on YouTube. Cully and all the guys at Underground, thanks again for the opportunity. And everybody, don't forget, if you're firstly now, I'm going to Sparge, please look up their website and order online. Stay safe, everybody. We'll do this again. Bye for now.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.